If you are expanding a brand into Europe, do not assume the domain question is just, can we get the .com? In North America, .com is often the default mental shortcut. In many European markets, local country code domains show up constantly in ads, storefronts, vans, invoices, and search results. That does not mean you should ignore .com. It means your domain checklist needs one more layer before you buy, backorder, rebrand, or launch. Here's the mistake. A team picks a great global name, buys one domain, and assumes the brand is covered. Then later, they discover that the local version is taken, parked, actively used, expensive, or tied to a market they want to enter next year. The result is not always a disaster, but it can create expensive friction, confusing search results, harder trust signals, negotiation pressure, a rushed domain migration, or a brand protection scramble. So, today, we are building a simple Europe domain checklist for founders, agencies, e-commerce operators, and domain investors. Start with the obvious. .com is still powerful. It is widely recognized, easy to explain, and often valuable for a brand that wants global reach. But the European market is not just a North American market with different languages. Domain Name Wire recently highlighted that in many European countries, country code domains are highly visible in everyday business use. That matters because domain choice is partly about trust. A buyer in one market may see a local extension and think this company is actually present here. Another buyer may see only a global domain and still trust it, but your job is to know which expectation applies before the launch. This is not a rule that every country code domain beats .com. It is a prompt to research each market instead of copying one default answer everywhere. Before buying or back ordering domains, write down the actual markets you care about. Not every European extension deserves the same budget or urgency. A company selling in Germany might look at .de differently than a company only shipping occasionally to Europe from the United States. A UK-focused agency may care about .uk. A French e-commerce launch may care about .fr. The first catch's workflow is simple. Search the core brand, then watch the main variants. Use a table with 4 columns: market, extension, current domain status, action. The action can be buy, watch, back order, monitor, negotiate later, or ignore for now. That last option matters. A checklist is not a command to buy everything. It is a way to spend attention and budget on purpose. Extensions can have different rules. Some may have local presence requirements, some may have different transfer processes, some may have pricing, renewal, or dispute patterns that change your risk calculation. Do not wait until a domain is urgent to learn those rules. For each extension on your shortlist, record who can register it, how renewals work, whether transfers need special steps, whether ownership or contact data needs review, whether the domain is practical for your buyer, user, and support workflows. ICANN resources are useful for general registrant concepts, but country code domains can also involve local registry policies. Treat the registry rule check as part of diligence, not an afterthought. This is where domain investors and founders both get into trouble. One side says, buy every variant before someone else does. The other side says buy only the cheapest exact match and move on. A better answer is to compare risk against real demand. Ask 4 questions. 1. Are we actively selling in this country? 2. Would customers expect a local domain? 3. Is the local domain affordable enough to hold? 4. Would losing this variant create confusion or negotiation leverage against us later? If the answer is yes to several of those, it belongs higher on the watch list. If the answer is no, save the note and move on. If you already run on one domain and later add a European country code domain, do not treat that as a simple DNS change. A domain move can involve redirects, canonical signals, internal links, analytics, email, customer support, paid campaigns, and third-party integrations. Google Search Central has detailed guidance on site moves. The key point for this video is simple. Plan the migration before the DNS cutover. Your pre-switch checklist should include redirect map, canonical and hreflang review. When relevant, email and DNS record inventory, analytics annotations, search console verification, customer-facing support notes, rollback contact. The better the domain, the more careful the move should be. This is useful before the scramble. Use catches to search candidate names, watch important variants, track domains that are already taken, and make back-order decisions with notes instead of panic. For a founder, that means your brand expansion plan is visible before launch week. For an agency, it means client domains and market variants can be reviewed as part of the naming and migration process. For a domain investor, it means you can compare country code opportunities against actual buyer intent and not just extension hype. The point is not to buy every possible domain. The point is to know which domains matter before someone else controls the timing. Here's the checklist. 1. Keep .com in the conversation. 2. Research local country code expectations market by market. 3. Check registry and renewal rules before you bid or buy. 4. Prioritize variants by real business risk. 5. Plan redirects and DNS before any migration. And 6. Use a watch list so your future domain decision is not based on memory. If you are evaluating a name for a European launch, start with catches. Search the core brand, save the important variants, and turn the domain question into a checklist before it becomes a crisis.